You. What up? All right. We got another one from Mr. Ballen. Another one from Mr. Ballen. And this is another top 3 photos with disturbing backstories. Yeah. The photos. I think, usually most times they're capturing, the last moment of somebody's life. That's why they're that's why they're so disturbing. most of them, most of them that we see. I think the last one we saw was had a son who went to dinner with his family, and at dinner he took a picture with his mom and his brother. Even though he had an assassin waiting for him at home. To kill his whole family because he lied about school and some other stuff. Yeah, the photos. We got some more though. Let's go.
Today, I'm going to share with you 3 progressive. The Soviet Union began investing heavily into nuclear power, and by 1977, the V.I. Lenin nuclear power station located in Chernobyl, Ukraine, was finally operational. The station itself was comprised of 4 reactors that were each labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. On April 25th, 1986, a group of very sleep-deprived plant workers began running a series of routine tests on nuclear reactor number 4. They were trying to see if the reactor could still be cooled even in the event of a complete power loss. But during the test, perhaps because they were sleep-deprived and just didn't feel like doing it, they started cutting corners and violated a number of safety protocols that led to several surges of power inside of the reactor. This led to a chain reaction of explosions within reactor number 4 that culminated in a massive explosion that blew the lid off the building, exposing the reactor's core. It would take the Soviets 10 days to finally stop the fire that was raging inside of this exposed core, which meant for those 10 days, radiation on an unprecedented level was spewed into the environment by this fire. But even after the fire was controlled, you have all this radioactive material that needs to be properly disposed of. And so the Soviets started by using robots to go up and pick up these materials and dispose of them, but the robots were breaking down from the high levels of radiation. And so naturally the Soviets sent in groups of men to go pick up the material, and dozens of people died from radiation sickness. A few months after the explosion, the first steel sarcophagus was built around reactor number 4 to try to contain some of that radiation. But even with that protection, it's estimated that the area around Chernobyl will not be habitable for another 20,000 years.
Damn.
So as a result, the Soviet Union created what they call an exclusion zone, which is 19 miles all around Chernobyl that no one can go inside of. And so nature's kind of reclaimed this area that used to be a fairly bustling metropolis. 1 year after the disaster, Ukrainian containment crews finally broke into the steam corridor that was located underneath the molten remains of reactor number 4. And as soon as they stepped in, their radiation readers spiked all the way to the top. And so they know that whatever's at the other end of this L-shaped hallway is something they did not want to get close to. And so they put a camera on a chair with wheels, and they pushed it down the hall to where it finally broke that corner and had a clear line of sight to the other end. And using a timer on the camera, they were able to take a picture of one of the single most dangerous things in the entire world. It became known as the elephant's foot. It was a molten pile of nuclear fuel and melted metal and sand and concrete that had all kind of converged and seeped through a pipe meant for steam and found its way into the basement. It was and still is emitting the equivalent level of radiation of 4.5 million chest x-rays every hour. Today, if you were to stand in front of the elephant's foot without proper equipment for 30 seconds, your cells would start to hemorrhage and you would become viciously ill, and you could even die. At 2 minutes of exposure, you're definitely going to die. But not right away. You have 48 hours and there's nothing you can do to stop it. You are 100% going to die.
Elephant's foot? I remember Chernobyl.
On October 31st, 2013, 4 mechanics were performing routine maintenance on a wind turbine in the Netherlands. In the early afternoon, all 4 of them are standing on top of the turbine itself, 2 on one end and 2 on the other, and a small fire breaks out inside of the housing of the turbine, right near where you would go back into the housing. Now, it's unclear what caused the fire, but it's speculated that it was caused by a short circuit. The 2 engineers on this side of the turbine were able to jump over the fire, land in the stairwell, and run their way down to safety. The other 2 on this side had a bad angle and could not make the jump, and so they had to wait until rescue workers showed up to put the fire out. But wind turbines are usually in areas that are very far away from society because they're huge and they're kind of eyesores. And so the response time was not good. The fire department did not show up very quickly, and by the time they got to the wind turbine, that little fire had gotten much, much bigger and had creeped up onto the platform that they are on. And then when the fire department actually started performing their job, the fire had spread well down the stairwell, and so it was very difficult and took a very long time to make their way up using the stairs. And the crane on the truck itself did not extend high enough to reach them either. The 2 trapped mechanics are watching this in real time. They're looking down and they can see the fire department is not going to be able to reach us in time because the fire is now spreading and getting bigger and bigger, and they're being pushed to the very edge of this wind turbine with an 80-meter fall to the ground. As the fire inched closer and closer and closer to them, the men must have realized that they have to make a decision here. They can either sit here and wait and hope for some miracle that perhaps a helicopter shows up and scoops them up, or some other mechanism of rescue is able to occur, or they try to make a run for it through the flames on the top of the turbine into the stairwell and just hope that the fire in the stairwell is not as severe and that maybe they can run through it and make it out the other side. Or the final option is to jump off the side and hope you survive the fall. And so as the fire continued to grow and get closer and closer to them, the men embrace one last time, and then one of them makes a run for it through the flames into the stairwell. His charred body would be found right at the landing of the stairs. He did not make it very far. He really had no hope. The last remaining mechanic is standing there wondering what he should do. He's probably looking down in hopes that he's going to see his friend who just ran in there emerge at the bottom on the ground, safe. But he doesn't. And after a considerable amount of time and the fire is getting closer and closer, he knows his friend didn't make it, and probably not wanting to suffer the fate that his friend did, he jumps. This is the picture of the 2 mechanics embracing for that final time. I'm sure at the time of this picture, they were aware that almost certainly they were not going to get out of this alive. They were 19 and 21 years old.
Damn! They was young.
In 2013, Philip Chisum was a 14-year-old high school student going to school in Danvers, Massachusetts. He lived at home with his single mother. Classmates described Chisum as being quiet, a bit of a loner. He was a great student, and he was the leading scorer of his soccer team. On October 22nd, 2013, Chisum missed soccer practice in the afternoon and then missed a team dinner that night, at which point his teammates tried calling and texting him. He didn't get back to them, so they got in touch with his mother. She tried reaching out to him to no avail, and so she contacted the police and said, "My son is missing." On the same night that Chisum is reported missing, one of his teachers, 24-year-old Colleen Ritzer, doesn't come home from work. Her family and her friends try reaching out to her, texting her, calling her, no response, so they too go to the police and they report her missing as well. The police were already looking for Chisum, so when they hear one of his teachers is also missing, they assume they must be linked, and so they go to the high school, even though it's well after hours, to see if maybe there's some clues there. They search the high school, and Chisum is not there, and neither is Miss Ritzer, but when they're looking in the girls' restroom that was right next to Miss Ritzer's classroom, they find a small splash of blood. Even though at the time they had no way of knowing if this blood was connected to Chisum or Miss Ritzer, they decided they would pull all the security footage for the past 24 hours that was looking in the direction of this bathroom. And they make a startling discovery starting at the 2:54 p.m. mark on October 22nd, the day they went missing. This is Miss Ritzer walking down the hall towards the bathroom that had blood in it. This is Chisum following Miss Ritzer into the hall. He's looking hesitant. God. He doesn't really know what he's going to do. He's thinking about following her. And at some point he says, "You know what? I am going to do this." He goes back into the classroom, re-emerges with his hood on, and walks down the hall towards the bathroom where Miss Ritzer is. This is Chisum entering the girls' bathroom with surgical gloves on. 11 minutes later, Chisum would leave the bathroom. Miss Ritzer would still be inside. Chisum would leave school property, he would run outside, he would get a big recycling bin, and then he would wheel that back into the school, and then he would go back into the bathroom with the recycling bin. At 3:21 p.m., 26 minutes after Chisum had first entered the girls' bathroom after Miss Ritzer, he re-emerges, now wearing a full face mask. He doesn't have a sweatshirt on anymore, and he's pulling along this recycling bin that looks noticeably heavier than when he brought it in. And that's because Miss Ritzer's body is now stuffed inside of it. Police were able to locate Miss Ritzer's body using the surveillance cameras on the outside of the school. They just watched what he did with the recycling bin, and he didn't bring it very far away from the school. Police were able to quickly track Chisum down and arrest him because as soon as he was done attacking Miss Ritzer, he used her credit card to go to a movie theater in town and watched a movie. So he's on security cameras watching the movie, and the police were tracking her credit cards because they noticed they were stolen, and they saw that he had swiped the card at this movie theater. So he gets arrested and he's given a life sentence. Here is the footage of Chisum leaving the girls' bathroom with Miss Ritzer's body inside of that recycling bin. His motives remain unclear, but he claims she used what he called a trigger word that really upset him.
Oh my goodness.
So that's going to do it, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and I will pin the best comment at the top of the comments.
He was just wheeling a recycling bin past the dude with the dog, like, woo! 'Cause she used a trigger word? A trigger word? Trigger word? Man, you crazy. That's bad. Man. You never know. That was just one of her students. She was probably like helping him tutor him or something after school or something. And evil. He went out in the hallway, looked around, made sure nobody was looking, then came back, put his hood on, and got some surgical gloves. Where'd he get surgical gloves? He was planning that shit. There's got to be more motivation than just a trigger word. Like, it looked like he planned that. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was planning on, like, what was you doing, man? And you just put it in a recycling bin, and then, like, you had and then you use your credit card to go to a movies? Was that what you wanted to do? You just wanted to go to the movies? You needed some money to go to the movies? You have to watch everybody. Family, friends, students, teachers, watch your students. I mean, damn. Man. Oh my goodness. Man, that was crazy. Ugh. Then wind turbines. My goodness. That's a dangerous job. That is a dangerous job. I guess there was like a housing unit like up there, I guess somewhere where you could like sit down, or where you didn't have to be outside. But I imagine you have to do work outside, like on the propellers and stuff. That's probably why they're up there. They have to go like out in the propellers and do maintenance and stuff. Woo! And then if something happens in there, you trap. If a fire happens, you definitely trapped. You can't go down the stairs. Maybe they should have some type of like emergency like rope or something that like that extends down to the ground or something. I don't know. It seems like there would be a better solution than running through the fire or just jumping. Like, I mean, what? Yeah, I don't have make it a softer fall. Like, I don't have what are those things that they put out? I don't know. Maybe like you said, that was just probably a unique situation. You're 80 meters up. You're hundreds of feet up. They can't get the fire truck can't get the ladder to you. It's too much fire for the firefighters. The fire probably extends from the top all the way down, close to the ground. So it's probably like 10 floors of fire you'd have to run through. So yeah, his friend wasn't going to make it. His friend wasn't going to make that. Man, sad. Then young. Dudes was young. What you say, 19 to 21? Dudes was young. Man, very sad. Dangerous job. Dangerous job. Whew. Then Chernobyl. I watched the series on HBO a couple years back. I don't know how accurate the show was. It was good though. Feel like I learned a lot about Chernobyl. I think like when they sent the guys in there to when they sent the men in to go remove like the material, the radioactive material, they went in butt naked. Or that's what they did in the show. Like they sent them in butt naked with no clothes or something. Uh, you know, and then yeah, I think they showed like this series of you know problems they had leading up to the catastrophe. I've also seen other documentaries on it. But yeah, 20,000 years until that area is habitable. It's crazy. And that is crazy. Elephant's foot still there. Still burning. Man. Man. But yeah, crazy. We got a video in there. Surprising video. Sad video. Sad video. But surprised we got a video in there with the photos. Man.